After the 2023 NBA Finals, I came to a realization about Nikola Jokic, and I held off on making this video because I felt like I already gave my thoughts on Nikola Jokic being underappreciated enough. But I just saw the NBA's GM survey, and they said that they had the Boston Celtics, who were the favorites to win the 2024 NBA championship, and seeing that just proved to me that the NBA and the NBA media are so anti-Jokic that Jokic is just going to be destined to be underrated for the rest of his career. I've never seen somebody who's a two-time MVP, a finals MVP, an NBA champion, one who leads the league in advanced stats every year, and awfully enough, one of the most unique players we've seen in the last 25 years. I've never seen somebody like that be disrespected and just flat out underappreciated at the rate that Jokic is. Whether it's the tired and false talking points of him being a quote-unquote stat pattern, or him being a quote-unquote bad defender, or what's even more egregious and people inferring that Nikola Jokic is only winning the MVP or at the top of the MVP race because of his race. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Kendrick Perkins. It just feels like people in the media have had this hate for Jokic for the past like 4 or 5 seasons, and it seems like the only people that really show Jokic the right amount of appreciation and give him the recognition that he deserves are either Nuggets fans or non-casuals. And speaking for myself, I really started to take more of an interest into Jokic's game around 2020. That's when I really started to see him develop into that star player that we know him as today, and that's when we started seeing the Nuggets in conversations for the best team in the West and making deep playoff runs. But in 2021 and 2022, hearing all the false narratives and the just flat out unfair expectations that people were putting on Jokic, it just made me more and more of a fan of him. It's kind of like the media, they don't want people to start rooting for Jokic, and the truth is, in their minds, they don't think Jokic and the Denver Nuggets can bring in viewership. In the NBA, if you're not LA, Chicago, Philly, New York, or any of these other bigger markets, then in the media's eyes, they don't see any reason to talk about you. And if you're a star player on a small market team, then the media is basically trying to pressure you into leaving that situation, i.e. Damian Lillard, i.e. Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the thing is, I wouldn't have a problem with it because at the end of the day, NBA media is a business. The same viewership argument can be applied on YouTube. If I make a video on the Orlando Magic, it's not going to do well. If I make a video on the Washington Wizards, it's not going to do well. But I can make 1,000 LeBron videos and they can all get 10,000 views. But if platforms like First Take, FS1, or whatever NBA players podcast have influence over casuals' takes and the way that they talk basketball, then that's where I draw the line, because you're borderline just pushing misinformation at that point. Some of the most famous talking heads like Nick Wright, aka Nick Wrong, Kendrick Perkins, and Stephen A. Smith, they all push anti-Jokic talking points into the media, and a lot of people just take it and run with it. Like, the whole Jokic is a bad defender has been a thing since 2020, and what didn't make it any better was his outing in 2021 against the Suns, which was completely not his fault, and then in 2022 when the Nuggets got ran off the floor by Golden State, again, not his fault. And I'm telling you, bro, Jokic is the only player who will have most of his best teammates injured for 2 years, be forced to put up some phenomenal numbers in the playoffs, and during that time win back-to-back MVPs, not get the respect for it, and then be told that he has to prove that he can win a championship. And then when all his players are healthy, he does exactly what the media was asking of him, and he wins a championship. On top of that, winning finals MVP, and then on top of that, beating some of the best teams in the league. Jokic is the only player who can do all of that and still not get the respect that he deserves. How convenient is it that the Nuggets are the team that has to deal with the NBA finals are boring quote-unquote thing, when I guarantee you, if it was any other team, if it was Celtics Lakers, nobody would say that. If it was Lakers Heat, nobody would say that. Even if another team out the West made it to the finals, like the Grizzlies or the Suns, if one of those other teams would have made it, nobody would have said that. But because it's Nikola Jokic, because it's the Denver Nuggets, people are going to say things like this. And I understand the argument is very subjective. Like, the idea of something being entertaining or boring is subjective. I get that, but it's the fact that it's Nikola Jokic who's always getting this type of treatment. It's just odd to me. And I really don't think it's because he's a foreign-born player, because there are other foreign-born players like Embiid, Giannis, Luka, who are far more popular than Jokic is, and who get a lot more respect because their games are more palatable to casual audiences, I guess. Like, Luka can do the whole tween hezzy thing. Embiid, despite being a big man, he still shows like signs of being a guard. in the sense of he has guard skills, he can dribble a little bit, he's got that fall away jumper, things like that. And then Giannis can just dunk over everybody. Like, from the casual fans perspective, there's entertaining factors of all three of their games, but for some reason they don't find that same entertainment factor when it comes to Jokic. Even though, speaking from, I guess, a Jokic fan perspective, Jokic's game is pretty damn entertaining. He has that fall away one leg jumper, which is kind of reminiscent of Dirk Nowitzki. The dude is literally a wizard with the basketball when it comes to passing and playmaking. He has like Magic Johnson levels of skill when it comes to that. He can throw it behind the head, behind the pass, over his head, in any type of situation, in the post, on the perimeter. He can start a fast break. Shit, he can do a Kevin Love and do like a one-handed baseball pass down the court. Like, there's so many type of passes Jokic can do, and that's the one skill to me that makes him so unique in this modern NBA. And in 2021 and 2022, I never doubted the fact that Jokic could be a winning player. I always knew that if the Nuggets were healthy, then they were at least a lock for the Western Conference Finals at the very least. And all it took was one healthy season. That's all it took. But as far as the Nikola Jokic disrespect goes, I truly think nothing is going to change even after him winning a championship. He could win another 5 MVPs, he can win another 3 rings, he can win another 3 finals MVPs. He could average 35, 20, and 20 for the rest of his career, and people are still going to doubt him. People are still going to disrespect him. People are still going to underappreciate him. That's why I've always held the belief that Nikola Jokic hate is by design by some of these talking heads. And it really doesn't make sense to me, because Nick Wrong, Kendrick Perkins, and Stephen A. Smith could make Jokic a lot more marketable and a lot more recognized across the NBA landscape if they talked about him more. But because they think that Jokic doesn't bring in viewership, because they believe that in their minds, then that's what it's gonna be. So when reports come out that NBA GMs believe that the fraudulent Boston Celtics could win the NBA championship, it really shouldn't surprise anybody. When Kendrick Perkins has another dumbass take about Nikola Jokic, it really shouldn't surprise anybody. When Nick Wrong shows his anti-Jokic bias, it shouldn't surprise anybody. That'll do it for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button. If you agree or disagree, make sure to let your voice be heard in the comments. I'm always open to hearing other perspectives and what other people have to say. Also, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed. It takes 1 second and it really helps the channel out. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Follow me on my socials, and I'm out. Peace.